A certain young man saw the Buddha one day on his alms round in the city. He could not believe what he saw. Never had he seen a man so beautiful, with the Buddha's radiant complexion and good-looking features. Quite smitten by what he saw, the young man decides that he wants to be near the Buddha at all times. And for that reason, he became a monk, so that he could forever be by the Buddha. Now there were other monks who lived side by side the Buddha. But when it came to this young monk, things were different. The whole time he was with the Buddha, he never took his eyes off him, gazing at him at all times. His obsession got to a point where he gave up both learning and meditation, to engage in full-time looking at the Buddha whenever he could. The Buddha took notice of the young monk who constantly gazed at him and followed him around, but did not admonish or correct him, thinking that it was not the right time to do so. After some time, it occurred to the Buddha that the young monk was in a position to receive some advice. The Buddha addressed him, saying, "What would it profit him to look upon this mass of flesh that is the body? He would only truly see the Buddha if he saw the Dharma, the reality." Though profound, this advice did not seem to have much effect on the monk, as he could not bring himself to not be enamored by the sight of the teacher. Then, when the rains season was afoot, the Buddha set out to another city to take up residence there. The young monk started following him. And the Buddha, thinking that the monk needed a bit of a shock to get his obsession out of the system, said to him, "Go back, monk." And with that the monk turned around, and returned back to the monastery, while the Buddha continued on his way to another city. For the entire 3 months that the Buddha was away for the rains season, the young monk felt dejected and sad, thinking the Buddha was displeased with him. And unable to bear this thought any longer, and feeling utterly miserable, he decided to end his life. Ending his life would end his misery of not seeing the Buddha, he thought. And for this purpose he went and ascended a nearby mountain, intending to jump off the cliff. Meanwhile, the Buddha, perceiving through his psychic vision the impending death of the young monk, saw that he needed consolation and comfort from him. The Buddha then sent a radiant image of himself to the mountain, and positioned the image in the space right in front of the monk who was at the edge of the cliff. The monk saw the image of the Buddha, and with that his mood lifted, and he became joyous. Addressing the monk, the Buddha pronounced that those who have faith in him would find peace and joy, and liberation. And stretching forth his hand in the air, the Buddha invited the monk to take a leap off the cliff. The monk, heeding the call of the Buddha, and without any hesitation, sprang into the air, and down the cliff. And as he soared through the air, he pondered the words spoken by the Buddha in utter joy. And it is said, halfway through the fall, he attained to no less than the very final stage of awakening, together with supernatural powers. And when he eventually landed, through psychic powers, he presented himself in the presence of the teacher. As time passed, the Buddha assigned the monk the foremost place among his fully awakened disciples, who had the most faith in him.